Good evening, and thanks for watching CTV Sports. I'm Patrick Enslow.
And I'm Travis Green. On Saturday, the Rams men's basketball team took on UNLV in Moby. The last time the Rams took the court was in Wyoming, where it looked like the Laramie wind was blowing their shots anywhere but in the basket. Problem with that is they play indoors. At the start of Saturday's game, the Runnin' Rebels were living up to their name. After just 8 minutes of play, the Rams found themselves down by 18. But the Rams charged their way back into the game and got the orange crowd buzzing after this block by Stan Kidd that leads to the jam from Joe Desmond, shrinking the deficit to 7. With just seconds left in the first half, Daniel Bejarano finds Stanton Kidd wide open in the corner, and 5 in a row makes a bingo!
Hashtag buckets, Trev.
The Rams headed into halftime down by 2, but from there on out, it was a back-and-forth game. With less than 4 minutes left, Bejarano drains this clutch 3, tying the game up at 77. Turn the swag on there, Danny.
Hashtag turn up.
Fast forward to the last seconds of the game. UNLV down by 1, gets an open look to win, and no, bounces out of the rim, giving CSU its 20th win of the season, 83-82.
I was very proud of our guys for them to respond after, I would say, a Wyoming hangover would be my best bet. I don't know, but we started out extremely poor.
Now, Patrick, I said it last week. This UNLV team is one of the most talented in the conference, if not the most talented. They don't have the wins that back that up, but we saw it this Saturday.
Yeah, and it's pretty well known throughout the Mountain West Conference that they recruit really well, and that was shown on Saturday. Rashad Bond, 30 points and 60% from three-point land, and he's only a freshman. The guy's definitely an NBA talent, and UNLV, lots of talent out there, and they're a lot bigger than CSU, and I'll give them the edge in the talent department. They just didn't play well together, and they relied a lot on Rashad Bond down the stretch.
They did, and at the very start, you saw the athleticism of this UNLV team showing. They had multiple alley-oops at the start. With that 18-point deficit, draining three-pointers, they had the speed, just blowing past CSU, but CSU slowed the game down, started playing their style of basketball, and made them take some poorer shots as the game went on.
Yeah, you got to give it to head coach Larry Eustace. He burned through quite a few timeouts in that first half, but that really slowed down the pace and let them hang around long enough until we saw Stan Kidd hit that 3. Moby erupted, and they were really back in the game then. And then John Gillen coming off the bench, 26 minutes, no turnovers. I thought that was huge for him. There's a little firecracker off the bench.
He is. I'm telling you, we've talked about it recently. John Gillen is that guy off the bench, brings a lot of energy defensively and offensively. I feel like the team flows a lot better when he's out there. They get those fast break points, which can be huge in games. And we got to talk about Stanton Kidd. Fantastic game from Stanton Kidd. He's really gotten back on track of recently. 19 points in this game, led all CSU Rams.
Yeah, and that was a season high for him, which was great to see. And yeah, that defense coming in, putting pressure on him. And we saw head coach Larry Eustace kind of shake up the lineup there in the second half, kind of taking out Bejarano and Avila for a little bit. And I think that really got the chemistry going. And then Gillen, as I said before, just really setting it off.
And how about this team's ability to win in close games? 5-0 in games decided by 3 points or fewer. They have really found the way to get those wins when it's close.
Yeah, and Trav, how about the bench? I think that's been one of the biggest strengths for this CSU team.
We got to talk about Clavel, too, if we're talking about the bench. Clavel has been huge coming in. 3-point shot. He's done a great job. Just like John Gillen, he's done great defensively and brought a lot of energy every time he's off the bench.
Yeah, so we got a lot of talent out there. Who's probably the biggest piece to this Rams success?
For this Rams team, I'd say Daniel Bejarano. You could argue multiple players. Daniel Bejarano is one of those guys that's playing point guard, kind of shooting guard at 6'6". Normally that's a small forward size, and he gets rebounds at the guard position, averaging almost 7 rebounds per game. He's at 6.9 right now. One of the better scorers on this team, and I could argue when he's hot, he is possibly one of the best players in the Mountain West. Maybe you could even argue the NCAA when he's hot, because when he is on, he makes just about anything he hucks up.
Amen to that, Travis. And I think you can maybe even call him a hybrid. But I got to go with consistency, and they say 90% of life is showing up. So I got to go with J.J. Avila, leading the team with 20-plus games and 5-plus rebound games. He leads the whole team, and in scoring and in rebound. The guy just comes out and plays. And we saw his intensity and his aggression in that Air Force game, getting in that fight. I really think he's slowly getting more and more leadership as the season goes on. And he's showed up in almost every game. You could say Boise State only 10 points, but compared to Bejarano and games like Wyoming or Fresno State, where we just didn't see much of Bejarano, and Air Force, he didn't even play. So just some interesting facts there.
Well, another interesting thing to look at is the only game this year Avila didn't play in was Nevada, and that Nevada game, CSU broke a record for biggest deficit in a win in the Mountain West. So I don't know, it's just another interesting fact out there. And looking at these two players right here, points per game wise, Avila has the edge, and he has the edge field goal percentage wise, but I think you can attribute that to him being a down low player.
Yeah, and he's a little undersized, too. As you were saying, Bejarano's a little bigger for a point guard. Avila's a little smaller for his position as well. So it's interesting to see how he kind of plays and uses his size. And he gets a lot of rebounds for being undersized. You saw that UNLV team, a lot of them were much larger than Avila.
Oh, yeah.
With 7 dates left on the schedule, every game counts for the CSU women's basketball team. If they look to repeat as Mountain West regular season champs, a 55-43 road victory against UNLV is a great place to start. The Rebels were able to stay in the game as they had a 15-second chance points. UNLV is the 13th in the country in offensive rebounds. A.J. Newton led the way for the Rams with a career-high 19 points, while Victoria Wells grabbed 9 boards. The Rams now find themselves trailing first-place Fresno State by only half a game. CSU will now face New Mexico this Wednesday as they wrap up their 2-game road skid. Trav, big win on the road for this team. They squeezed the deficit to half a game against Fresno State because Fresno State did not play this weekend.
And they will play Fresno State coming up soon, so that game will be huge. But the biggest thing I want to touch on here is A.J. Newton has been great coming back after that injury. It's never good to have a player go down with an injury, but I think that was a big learning curve for these CSU Rams to be able to play without Newton's presence out there on the court. And now that she comes back from the injury and she just scored 19 points, she's really gelling with the team, and I think that's going to be huge come tournament time.
Yeah, to be able to win pretty big in this one with 18 turnovers. The CSU squad had 18 turnovers, and they were on the road, and they were still able to win. That is what you want to see from your squad in February. They still have Fresno State on the schedule, which I think is their last true test before they get ready to go down to Las Vegas for the Mountain West tournament.
And as we've talked with the Mountain West tournament, because that's on our mind, is because Mountain West is a weak conference. For the women's basketball team to get in from the Mountain West Conference, it's likely they have to win that conference tournament. And last season we saw that as Ram fans. CSU was the best team in the regular season in the Mountain West, lost to Fresno State in that tournament, didn't get into the tournament. So it's going to be huge for this CSU women's team to get hot now at the right time, head into that tournament with everything rolling and possibly win that tournament to get into the NCAA.
Will they learn from their mistakes?
We'll see. And coming up next, we'll let you know how the softball team fared this weekend.
And then we're going to play our version of Over Under. Don't go away.
Oh, hey there, Rams. Today is a great day to play in the LSC. So let's take a look at our ballrooms, theater, and art galleries. The LSC ballrooms, which are the busiest venue in northern Colorado, have been recently renovated. The Laurie Student Center Theater can be transformed to feature films, concerts, lectures, entertainment, and banquets. And last but not least, the Kerfman Gallery provides a showcase for the creations of local and student artists. It's cold outside today, Rams. What better way to warm up than to gather in the LSC? The new and improved Senate chambers located in the renovated ASCSU office was modeled to match the state legislature in Denver. Reserve the Longs Peak Meeting Room in Room 302. There are approximately 23 other new meeting rooms designed for your needs. Reserve one of these rooms through the Event Planning Office.
Yeah, that's good extra right there.
The Colorado State football team received some good news today when it was announced that tight end Kivon Cartwright has received a medical hardship and will return for his 6th year of eligibility. Cartwright had foot surgery before last season and played in the Rocky Mountain Showdown, but never fully recovered from the operation and missed the rest of the year. Now, Patrick, this is huge to get Cartwright back. Last season, heading into the year, a lot of buzz about him. He was first team All-Mountain West for the preseason, which is odd because then we had Stephen Walker step in, and he was first team All Mountain West. In the regular season, it's going to be interesting how those two play together.
Yeah, he had 27 catches, 462 yards, and 6 TDs in 2013. I mean, that is a big year.
Big time.
And it'll be big-time spring ball for these guys because we have Stephen Walker, him, and then Rashard Higgins, all these weapons. And then who's going to be the QB? Nick Stevens got some snaps during the season, but we have a new head coach, and he's a very offensive-minded head coach, the old offensive coordinator from Georgia, Mike Bobo. So it'll be interesting to see who he chooses in spring ball. So lots of questions to be answered.
Absolutely. A lot of players leaving from graduation for the draft, and it's going to be interesting. Bobo, maybe he'll have a different style of offense. He'll want to put in different players here and there. Will he use 2 tight ends? Because we know we have 2 great tight ends here. And I think the biggest question about football is who's going to be that quarterback. They got a new recruit coming in, but it's going to be interesting to see if Stevens is that guy or maybe there's somebody else we wouldn't even think of.
Yeah, and I think this is a good problem to have for CSU football. You know, some years we're trying to figure out who's even on the roster, but now we got plenty of returning guys, plenty of weapons, so it'll be fun to watch. Weekend Warriors. CSU softball begin its season with 5 games in 3 days in Las Cruces, New Mexico for the Hotel Encantino Classic. The Rams dropped their first game to Nebraska 9-1, then went on to beat Montana and Fresno State. The weekend ended on a sore note for the Rams as they dropped their final 2 games against University of Texas at Austin and New Mexico State. Senior Haley David finished the weekend hitting .389 in the tournament. Haley Hutton went 4 for 9 on the weekend with 9 walks. The Rams look to get above 500 next weekend in Austin for the Texas Classic. Now we're going to switch it up a little bit. We're going to play a little over and under. Trav and I are going to decide the likelihood of certain events. We'll start with the number of wins the men's team will finish this year. Trav, we go over under 24.
24 and a half. So they have 7 games left on their schedule, 20 wins as of now. I'm going to go over on this one, over 24 and a half. I think this team can put something together here. Now, there is questionable games. San Diego State, at Utah State, I think is one people aren't thinking about, but that could be a trap game. It's going to be tough, but I think this team has it rolling now, and I think they might be able to pull off a better record, 25 wins or more.
Yep. The road makes me nervous, though, Trav. The last 2 road games against Boise State and Wyoming did not go so hot. Boise State, they probably should have won that one, lost it late, and then got dominated in that Wyoming match. So going into Fresno State, solid team. I don't know. I'm going to have to go under because I think they're going to lose all 3 of the rest of their road games. Ooh. Utah State, been a giant killer. Utah State has beaten San Diego State at home and Wyoming. 2 solid squads. And then winning in San Diego, almost impossible in the Mountain West. So I think they're going to lose those 3 games, and I'm going under, Trav. I hate to be that guy.
All right, well, we're going to talk about women's basketball now. Over or under 6.5 losses for this team. They are now at 5, also have 7 games left on their schedule. They do have Fresno State coming up at the top of the Mountain West right now. Are you saying over or under 6.5 losses?
I'm going to have to go under. I like the way they're playing right now, Trav, and I think they'll finish strong. And I'm going to pick them to beat Fresno State.
Okay. I'm going with you. I'm going under as well. I think this team could win out the rest of the regular season. That is a bold statement, but it's going to be interesting to see how it plays off, especially with A.J. Newton added on this squad, as we've said in this show. I think they're going to go under on that.
Yeah, bold move, Cotton. And then we have men and women. Are they going to win the Mountain West tournament? We have 10% over or under. This will be this March in Las Vegas.
Okay, 10% for both to win the Mountain West tournament? Yep, 10%. I'm going to go over. I think this men's team could get a spark under them. I think the women's team is likely to pull off this Mountain West tournament championship. I think they've got it in them. The question is that men's team in this deep Mountain West, there's a lot of teams out there that could wind up winning that tournament.
Yeah. And call me crazy, but I have faith in this men's squad. You have 2 senior leaders in Daniel Bejarano and J.J. Avila, and I think they will win the Mountain West tournament in Las Vegas. Just the women last year, the way they played and how they were going so strong into that, I can't pick the women in Las Vegas this year, so I'm picking the men, and I go 5%, so I'm going under.
All right. Well, now for our last over-under, we're going to have a little fun at Larry Eustachy's expense. We all know he's got a bit of a temper and has been called for his share of technical fouls. He even joked about it in the last game.
And about everything, I thought, except for me getting a technical. It had the smorgasbord variety of everything.
Patty Cakes, how many techs will Eustachy get at the end of the season? Are we going to go over or under 2 more technicals, 1.5 for the rest of the season?
I'll stop it right here, and he has smorgasbord, dropping a big word there in the
Yeah.
in the presser. But I will say over 1.5, because I say San Diego State, Utah State, 2 close games, bad call here and there. You never know when Larry's going to lose it. And if they have a bad home game against Air Force, they don't show up, it's a close game. I mean, I could see Larry losing it there too. So there's 2 techs, and I'm going over.
I'm going to go under on this one. I know Larry has his temper, and sometimes technicals are needed to light a fire under your team, but I think he's going to be under because of that Boise State game. Close game on the road. He got the technical. It was crucial. Boise State wound up winning that one. I think he kind of learned a lesson there, and I think he's going to lay low for a while here.
Play cool, so
Play
we'll see
cool.
what happens.
Yeah. Well, that's all the time we have for you tonight.
But we will be back next week promptly at 8 o'clock.
Remember, if you aren't near a TV, you can still live stream our show on Mondays at collegian.com.
Have a wonderful night.